a feature to mute. All right, we are being live streamed
All
right
right,
now.
I just opened up the YouTube live stream, so we've got 15 seconds and we will be live on River West Radio. So if you guys all want to just stand by for a moment here, we will be starting in just a moment. Thank you guys all for being here. It's gonna be a good night. Welcome to Ability MKE Now. My name is Sue Roskoff. Ability MKE Now is a show all about integration, bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities, and here at Ability MKE Now, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities. The concept of disability hits a wide range of possibilities. We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, mental health diagnosis, goals of substance use reduction, and the list goes on. We all have our own experience with disability, whether it's our own, with people we know, or with people we encounter in our daily lives. Here at Ability MKE Now, we break down the barriers and celebrate the ability in all of us. And we have so many wonderful people joining us tonight. I am excited to be highlighting books. Books are something we all enjoy, and there are so many different ways to enjoy them. And something that you maybe have not considered is what about the book that's inside of you? We have this amazing, wonderful lady coming to us from across the globe, actually. She is zooming into us from Australia. We have the lovely Krystal Hille joining us. Come on in. I am so thankful that you could join us tonight. Come on in and say hello to everyone.
Hello, thank you so much, Sue, for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here on Ability MKE. And originally, I'm from Germany, in case people are wondering what is her accent. It doesn't sound quite Australian. So just stop putting everybody out of their misery. I am originally from Germany, lived in the UK, now in Australia, and I'm just having a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So I know you do publishing. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. So I come into publishing from a entrepreneurial background, from being a life coach, and prior to that, having been a theater director. So storytelling and bringing people on stage and making people visible is something that I've always been passionate about. And so I'm not a traditional publisher. I'm a what they call hybrid publisher. And hybrid publishing was created when Amazon and these books became digital and it became easier to that anybody could publish. So hybrid publishers are filling this gap in the marketplace where we help people put professional books out on Amazon. They don't need to know how to do it, but that's where we come in. But they're everyday people because I really believe that everyone has a story to share and everyone has a unique perspective, especially with what you're saying. The diversity of ability is like, why don't we just share that and broadcast that, which is exactly what you're doing. And I'm doing something very similar through books, but specializing yeah, on the transformational aspect, on how we can make impact, and also helping entrepreneurs to be seen as the thought leader that they really are.
Excellent. And so I've got to ask, is it hard? Is it truly, is this one of these things you just got to know how? How difficult is it to go through this whole process? Because to me, it seems daunting because I just don't know.
Look, I think it's as hard as you choose to make it. That's really the answer. Because some people say it's super easy, and other people they take forever. And having done this for 4 years now, I'm looking at some people just write and it just streams through them. I had a client, she wrote a 3,000 word chapter, which is about 8 pages on a flight, and it just came through her. It's almost like she channeled the whole thing and it was done. She didn't have to do any edits. And then there's people who agonize over it, and every single little word has to be perfect, and they have their English professor or teacher looking over their inner English teacher looking over their back, and they're feeling all exposed and vulnerable. So really, I've actually written a book about why some people make it harder than others. Um, and it's all comes back as to why do we sabotage this? Why do we make it so hard? And I really feel it comes all back to, it's an overused term, but childhood trauma, our attachment styles, we're feeling that we need to be perfect, and then it becomes harder and we stagnate, and that's when it becomes daunting and takes forever because we're putting this huge expectation on us. But if we just approach it with, I have a story to share, my wisdom matters, and writing isn't my strength, so I'm just going to record it and then let the professionals figure out the rest. When we come from that place, it becomes easy.
Excellent. And that is so nice to hear that, because that is something, like I said, I think I've had that thought before of what would it be to actually write this and share this and whatever this is. We all have a this. We all have
Yes.
something that we can share, and where to start, so having somebody who knows how this works, being able to guide the way and be that person really makes a difference.
It really does. And I have a lot of clients who've had many false starts with their books, and they finally found me and finally resonated with somebody because they felt like I really cared and I really got them. And I provided a structure. I have worksheets, frameworks, outlines, and so I say, this is what you put into your introduction. This is how you structure your chapters in order to make it empowering and transformational. And I think one thing to just share is that every story needs a teaching point, and every teaching point needs a story to bring that teaching point to life. So that's just one little snippet I can give away right now. Yeah.
I love that. And it makes so much sense. But I never would have come up with that. So having someone like you that can share these kinds of pieces to help shorten that time frame, because having something to work from, it's like when you cook, you need a recipe. Follow that recipe and it goes a lot faster than let's just try this and see what happens. That having
Exactly.
makes all the difference. So what would be what is like the number one well, I guess I'll call hiccup that you see people as they're trying to put something together. If they've already had that thought in their mind that they want to do something with writing a book and they're stuck somewhere. Is there a common kind of a point where people get stuck?
Yes, I think I'll just pick one, and a common one is that they make it about themselves so much that a reader would put the book down after 3 pages. So it's like me, 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 me. And that is a really, really important part of writing. But it doesn't stop there. So I always say to my clients, your first draft, when you're sharing, especially if it's a teaching memoir where they're sharing an aspect of their story, it has to be about them first. They have to get it out of the head onto the page. Something just needs to come out first. And after it's out, and it's like in the stream of consciousness, verbal diarrhea way, if you must, it's out. And then we look at, okay, so what is the intention here? What is the intention for the reader? What do I want them to learn from my story? What's the universal theme that I have in my story that I'm communicating that they can connect with in their own lives, in their own journey? And therefore, I can share my wisdom, my hindsight, my perspective, and help them to fast track whatever they're going through. So the second draft then is to help them make that shift. Like, okay, what about the reader? What is the problem that you're actually solving for them with your story?
Beautiful. And I think if I remember correctly, you have your own book that's coming out soon. Is that right?
Yes, I've got a book that's coming out on the 28th of April, and it's called The Aligned Author, A Writer's Odyssey Towards Momentum and Mastery. And it really came out of, I really felt like, okay, I tell everyone every business needs a book. And I'm like, okay, but I haven't got a book. I don't have a book about my business, so I can't really keep talking. It's been 3 years. What am I going to write about? And I felt like there's so many books about writing a book, and there's so many books about publishing. So what unique problem am I going to solve? And what I realized, it's that self-sabotage. There's 81% of the population, American population, want to write a book, and only 1% actually get published. So what happens to the 80%? Where do they get lost and why? So that was the starting point for my inquiry, and I've gone through looking at the hero's journey of the author. From the refusal of the call, saying, "Oh, I can't do this. I'm too," whatever the reasons are, "I'm too busy. I'm not a good writer. I don't have time." From that refusal to then saying, "No, I'm accepting that journey," and then all the trials and tribulations, the inner enemies that we have, like procrastination, doubt, perfectionism, overwhelm. How do we deal with them? How do we keep going until we then return with the elixir, return with the written book? So yeah, it's a beautiful book for people who are on that journey, who want to go on that journey, but who feel like emotionally, mentally, they need some guidelines and help to actually make it to the finish line.
Beautiful. So with that coming out soon, how do people find out more about that?
So that it's available on Amazon. It's called The Aligned Author. And of course, I will have things on my website as well, which is hillhouse.org.
And Hill is with an E, so HILLE house.org.
That's it. Yes.
Excellent. Wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad to hear all these pieces because there are people where this is hitting home. We do have others that are here today as well. I want to go ahead and bring them into this conversation. So first, I would like to introduce Lee Rosenblum. He is a gentleman that we have had the pleasure of having around us on and off for a very long time, but I think he's gotten to interact with Kurt quite a bit more than me. So I'm really looking forward to having a chance to talk to Lee a bit more here. He is the finance guy. So, and I know I'm oversimplifying saying it that way, but Lee, come on in and tell us a bit more about you. How are you tonight?
Thank you. Pleasure. Wonderful. Good to see you all. I'm associated with a company that's kind of known as the Money Books Company. So why are we known as that? Because now we have four books about money. I didn't write them. My partners, five of my partners have wrote the four books, and we make them available to anybody who wants them. Of course, you can buy them on Amazon, but people contact me; they can get one. The first one was called "How Money Works: Stop Being a Sucker." Now, why does it say that? Because most people get taken advantage of in the financial industry, and they don't know it. The second book is called Change Your Literacy, Change Your Life, because if you change your financial literacy, it'll change your life. And I'll come back to that in a second. The third book was called How Money Works for Women, Take Control or Lose It. And my partner who wrote that book, she envisioned that each woman has a potentially 9 life stages to go through, and how, as she progresses through those stages, her need for money and perception of money would change over time. And she tells stories of the working woman, the divorced woman, etc. Beautiful. The widowed woman. Beautiful book. And the fourth book is called How Money Works. It's for Gen Zs. It's called Act Now or Have a Chance to Lose It. And it was written by my 25-year-old partners. So we're known as the Money Books Company. And so we do a lot of financial education. So really, most of what I'm known as is a financial educator. If you find me on LinkedIn, I'm the financial educator. And the last thing I'll say is we also just today launched a financial literacy index. We're hoping that people all over the world will take this little quiz so that we can figure out, well, who knows what about money, who doesn't know what, what's the status of financial literacy, or what's the status of financial illiteracy. And that index will be published in the Wall Street Journal once in a while. So I'll be sharing that over time.
Fantastic. Oh, I love all that. And where are you located?
I live in Sacramento, California, but Sue, one reason that Kurt and I became friends is I lived happily in Milwaukee for 5 wonderful years. It's 5 wonderful years of my children remember it very fondly.
Very nice. Oh, I love it. Got to have those Milwaukee connections.
Milwaukee connections.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for being here,
Thank
Lee.
you. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and bring in our next guest to join this conversation. So Andelene Grey is joining us from Texas, and she is an executive chef in Texas, and we've just been getting to know her quite a bit here recently. So Andelene, come on in and say hello and tell us a bit more about what you all do.
I am an executive chef. Just one second.
Oh, actually, hold on one second. We just got to get our sound right here. Let's do that one more time. There we go. So I think I muted the wrong one. We were getting some feedback. Go ahead and,
Yeah.
talk again.
So I'm an executive chef. It's called the Maroon Cafe, Health and Happiness on a Plate. So basically, it's Jamaican, Italian, and French infusion. Um, so it's something that trying to do at the moment to get out there. Um, at this present time, we're focused on healthy eating, without any gluten or any antibiotics and hormone free. So basically, that's what we're basically focusing on. And also, we'll be introducing coffee as well that we'll be serving as well, which is Blue Mountain Coffee. So these are stuff that we'll be doing through this business.
Heard you say health and happiness on a plate. What
Yes.
a beautiful phrase. I love that. Oh my goodness. So with all the things you do, have you ever considered a book to go with what you do, what your experience has been, and your, whether it would be on, I can see possibilities here, whether it be about your life journey or about specifically the wonderful recipes that you create?
Yes, so I did start a book and it's actually finished, but not published yet. It's called it's called Bowl Fusion, Jamaican, Italian, and French Collide.
Excellent.
That's,
Well, I think you and Krystal may have a conversation that needs to happen. I think there's
yes,
a good connection there.
yes. So that's what the book is called. So it's basically completed with all the recipes. You have appetizers, you have like full meal recipes. So basically, it's fusion with Italian, like a curry chicken with coconut milk, infusion with fettuccine pastas, stuff like this.
Excellent. And how long have you been doing this?
Oh my goodness. I've been cooking for a long, long time. I'm also included in where I've done menu planning for the elderly as well. So, and also done some of the biggest festivals, like goes on like for 3 days as I do that as a chef. That's a jerk festival in Toronto, Canada. And I also done at Caribana as well. A lot of people don't know what that is, but it's a big festive thing that take place. So I've done cooking there as well for the day and stuff. So I've been around doing a lot of things, a lot of experience in the kitchen, different experience anyways as well. So yeah, wide range of experience cooking.
Excellent. I love it. Wonderful. Well, and I know we do still have another guest that can join us in the Zoom room here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Joanne to join the conversation. And I know she is with ASEA. And if you've never heard of that, I wanted to go ahead and turn it over to you, Joanne, to tell us a little bit more about that. And I know you were saying too that you've got some books in and by you that tells a lot more about this as well. So how are you tonight?
I am just wonderful, enjoying these conversations so much. I think my favorite accent is it's got to be the German with the Australian, and I love Andelene's too. So I have not written a book. I have consumed many books about the redox cell signaling. It's become, I'm a classical musician, become wellness advocate, and talk a lot about resilience at the cellular level, because I like to say if you're just doing self-care without cell care, then your self-care is just pampering. Really, I mean, health begins at the cellular level, and that's where illness begins. So you want to take care of your cells, and that's where the redox signaling supplement comes very much. It's pivotal for you. It can change everything for you. But as far as books, I read them. So if that's of interest to you, just from a curious mind, you could consider this book. And it's not written from anyone that even speaks about the redox cell signaling supplement. It's called, listen to this, One Disease, Redox Imbalance. And the premise is that all disease begins with stress. And I think we've all heard what homeostasis and balance is. That is now being characterized as redox imbalance. And that's what this gentleman, Michael Scherer, he's kind of a visionary, is speaking to, is one disease. So that's his book. And then the rest are, my goodness, there's one after the other. The Science of Healing Revealed, Healthy Cells, Healthy Life, Redox Matters, Connecting the Dots Between Redox Biology and Health. Are you getting the thread here? Everything starts in our health and wellness, whether it be mental, emotional, or physical. It starts at the cellular level. This is the New York Times bestseller, Good Energy, right? Once again, that's what we always say is redox is the energy of the body. It is the intelligence of the body. And you want your body to be smart, right? And balanced and strong so that you can live your life to your full potential.
Well, and where are you joining us from?
I'm right now in upstate New York by beautiful Cooperstown in Leatherstocking country, Lake and Hill country. So we're stepping into the season of that we all love the most here is spring and summer and fall. They're all beautiful, aren't they?
Excellent. I know I'm a summer girl. I can hardly wait for it to warm up. We're getting there. But oh my gosh, what an amazing group we have together here. And I do want to give you all a chance. If you have questions for each other, if you heard something that you want to speak to from what you heard already. So actually, Krystal, I'm going to turn it over to you first. If you had any thoughts you want to share.
Well, I love Joanne's many books that she's been showing and sharing. And I think, yeah, I think it just shows or is a testament that books really change our lives. Books enrich our lives, and we all consume them and we all read them. And my question for the listeners really is, what is the book that is inside of you? What is the story inside of you that somebody may be waiting for? You know, when we all have a book that's changed our lives, what if your story that hasn't been written in a book yet would change somebody else's life?
That is truly something to consider, because we've all been through stuff, right? We've all experienced where everybody has their own story. Nobody has walked in my shoes. Nobody's walked in yours. Sharing the stories.
And the thing about that is that we often don't give ourselves enough credibility, or because we're so close to our story, we don't realize that not everybody knows what we know. And I find that is, you know, you asked me earlier about the number one problem that people face in their writing. I think one of the core problems or issues is with starting a story or starting a book is because people say, well, who am I to write a book? Because we're so close to our own story. We live our story. We're with ourselves every single day that we often forget how unique we truly are. And so we need that external reflection sometimes. So again, another invitation is to go out and ask somebody, what do you appreciate about me? What makes me unique? I'm really curious because I'm on a mission to really own who I am and find out who I am. And I think writing a book takes us on that transformational journey to really claim that about ourselves.
100%.
Well, Krystal, I will tell you, I actually think I have 2, maybe 3 books inside me. I was a social worker in my first career, and what I did as a social worker, I was a nonprofit fundraiser. So I raised for 27 years, I raised a lot of money for charity, and I have a lot of stories that I think I'd like to share, not for attribution, because I can't really talk about the people, but the stories of how I met them, what they said, why they wanted to give. And I will be working that. I have made a lot of notes, and someday I want to write that story. And then someday I want to write a fictional story. I have a great fictional story in my mind too, which is way back there. It's kind of a dystopian story.
That sounds amazing.
So my question for you, Lee, is where's the trigger? When do you start saying, okay, today I start? When does that day come?
I'm still in the business of doing financial education, and a lot still to be done to fulfill my needs on that. And so I do have a hope to have a third career of you guys of writing a book.
Excellent. I love it. Yeah, because we all need financial literacy. That is having that education and having somebody that you can ask questions and to help you understand all those pieces, because we all can't be experts on everything. We can't. So having people we can lean on and learn from that know what they're doing and you can trust is so valuable.
It's a shame that most people in our country don't learn this stuff. Schools don't teach it. People get into trouble. They get taken advantage of. They make a mistake. They get frustrated. They don't know who to turn to. Yes, you're absolutely right, Sue.
Excellent. And that makes me think too here. Okay, so my personal I actually am a science geek. I'm 100% a science geek. My job, I work at a university. I'm the lab manager there. So I know as Joanne's talking about redox and all these things, it's like she's talking my language. I love hearing about this and how that all works. But it started by what I learned in a book. We had professors teaching us these things, but somebody had to write this, somebody had to do the research and with what you were speaking to, and for all of us to think that for that moment of, do I know what she's talking about? How do I learn about this? And there's all sorts of resources where we can educate ourselves, and most of those you're going to find are in a book.
Yeah, and
And what I
the
love
cool
about,
thing.
oh, go ahead, go, Joanne. I was going to
Oh,
mention actually
thank
very
you.
quickly, I was going to mention Audible. Like a lot of people say, I don't have the time to write a book, to read a book. And then, we're all driving in the car a lot of the time, so, or making dinner. And I always have my Audible with me and listen to something.
Mhm.
Excellent. Great
Yeah,
idea.
it's wonderful. It sure opens up because we are all squeezed for time, at least, we think we are. But I love hearing the combination of Sue, who studied the science, and Krystal, and even Lee are talking about sharing your story. And so I'm a musician, so I don't ever feel like I'm in the same class as an atomic medical physicist. But having been around redox for over 14 years, I know so many stories and it's heard so many journeys of people hurting and then staying the course and shifting towards thriving. And perhaps that is of value, just that other people, you need to know these stories, read them through, and understand that it's worthwhile.
Absolutely. And Andelene, I'm so glad I know you said you have a story written, and because you definitely have a story to tell. You got a very unique path that you've gone in your life walk. And I think I know I would love to read this more. So, Krystal, I'm going to give it back to you for just a moment here. Any final thoughts you would take home messages that you'd like to share, and any words of advice that you maybe would have for somebody who's thinking about this?
Oh, very good. Thank you. I think what's popping into my head right now is about the 6 core needs that we all have. One of them is contribution. So that would go into we all need to contribute our wisdom in order to really feel living a fulfilled life. And another one is growth. So, the reading books and expanding our horizon falls into that. So I think if we want to keep growing and keep feeling like we are fully living our lives and we're not just waiting for whatever, but just, feeling fulfilled in our lives. Those two are really important. And books, to me, reading and writing play a significant part in that. So your story matters and your wisdom is needed, whether in a book or just sharing a story with a person.
Beautiful. I cannot thank you all enough for joining us tonight. Krystal, Andelene, Lee, Joanne, you guys are all amazing. I love hearing your stories and I look forward to hearing more. As always, here with AbilityMKE Now, we thank you.